Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Non-Prophets. This show is brought to you by the Atheist Community of Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Jeff D. This week's co-hosts are Keryn Glasser.
Hi.
And Paul Wilson.
Hey, everybody.
Our producer, as usual, is Russell Glasser.
Hello.
Russell's got a birthday coming up on Monday, big 28, right, Russell?
Yay!
And so everybody wish Russell a happy birthday.
And a Happy New Year.
We are live September 7, 2002. Instead of opening music this week, we're broadcasting from the seaside. We're here in our swim trunks, and we've got our beach blankets and sunscreen, and it's quite lovely here.
Yeah.
Got my laptop and my cellular modem to broadcast from.
We should do this more often. I enjoy the little umbrella things to provide the shade, and the tall drinks. What are these drinks called that we're drinking?
Sex on the beach.
Sex on the beach.
Yes, of course. Nice and sunny, too.
The sound of the waves and the seagulls and so on in the background reminds me of a Monty Python episode, where at the end it just cuts to the seaside, and you see the waves crashing into the beach, and then John Cleese walks on in a conquistador outfit and says,
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
He says, I'm afraid the show's run a little short this week, so we thought we'd show you this scene. It's beautiful, isn't it? There's really not much point you hanging around because there aren't going to be any more jokes or anything. and the show went on for another minute and a half.
And we're going to try and stretch that for an hour and a half?
Yeah. The Atheist Community of Austin is a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings Sunday mornings at the Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop at 307 West 5th Street at 10:30 a.m., except for the first Sunday of each month when we have our lecture series at 11 a.m. in the Longhorn Room of First Cafeteria at North Cross Mall. And I guess our next lecture will be sometime in October, and I don't have the date yet, whenever the first Sunday is. ACA board meetings take place at 10 a.m. right before the regular meeting on the second Sunday of every month. If you shop at the Randall's food store chain, you can give them our nonprofit organization number 5158, and 1% of your purchase will automatically be donated to the Atheist Community of Austin. The Godless Gamers meet... Stop that! Keryn is like bouncing on her beach ball right now. It's very distracting.
Could you pass the sunblock? Thanks.
Yeah, we've all got the white sunblock on our noses. It looks absolutely ridiculous. But, this is radio, so you don't get to see. The Godless Gamers meet Monday nights at over in Glasser Studios. ACA Happy Hour is at Antonio's Tex-Mex near Highway 35 and 183. Again, in Austin, Texas only for those out-of-towners out there. Thursday nights at 7:30 p.m. And since Monday is also Russell's birthday, there's a potluck at Godless Gamers. Is that correct?
Yes.
There's a potluck. So if you're going to come to Godless Gamers, please bring a dish to celebrate Russell's 28th. For more information, you can call our voicemail at area code 512-371-2911 or visit our website at www.atheist-community.org. Okay, now, let's see. Let me go through our standard regular announcements here. Now, those of you listening to our show are probably all atheists. I think we might have had a few Christian listeners, but we haven't heard much from them if they're out there.
Sometimes they pop into the chat room and shoot off a few swear words and then leave.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that...
Things like God bless you, those kinds of swear words?
Yeah, and the other kind.
Yeah. Well, when you hear instances of slurs, defamation, or discrimination against atheists or other non-believers in the U.S. media, we're media, right?
Yeah.
This show, this is U.S. media.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but we're not defaming us.
We're unlikely to defame us, but it's stuff like this. So
Goddamn atheist.
All right, that's it. I'm reporting you to the National Atheist Ombuds by emailing ombuds@atheism.org. Please remember to include as many details as possible in a news source where applicable. Well, on Saturday, September 7, I heard Russell Glasser damn atheists on the Non-Prophets, and I'm going to zip them off an email as soon as possible. Incidents will be reported to participating national and local non-theist organizations who will distribute press releases regarding the reported subject matter. On November 2, the Godless Americans are going to march on Washington, D.C. to make a stand for our equal rights. The event will be held on the National Mall on the west side of the U.S. Capitol building. American Atheists is organizing this event, and they're working out the details right now. The rally will include speeches from representatives of various atheist, free thought, secular humanist, and other related national, regional, and local organizations. Your group should be receiving a mailing, and if you haven't heard from them, please contact American Atheists and see how you can help. For more information, plus an endorsement page that you can sign, go to www.godlessamericans.org. You can now collect past episodes of The Non-Prophets, preferably not last week's episode, which I haven't even been able to bring myself to listen to because it was a big, hideous train wreck.
It was not that bad.
It felt awful from this end, Russell. We had some technical problems, and it threw everybody off their stride, and it was just a little clumsy. And that's why we needed this relaxing vacation away from the studio out here in the wonderful world of nature. And where was I? Anyway, so past episodes of The Non-Prophets and an audio version of our sister show, The Atheist Experience, which airs on public access television only in Austin, Texas, on a CD. Each CD contains a full month's worth of audio from both shows in QuickTime and MP3, plus extra surprises. The CDs are $5 each. Contact atheist@mac.com for info. All right. Now, this is the last show that we'll be doing before the September 11 anniversary. I want to let everybody out there know that American Atheist is encouraging atheist, free thought, rationalist, humanist, and other like-minded groups to plan and execute secular commemorative events for the September 11 anniversary. These can be anything from silent observances to participation in other public events. The key word here is public. For information, you can go to www.secularmemorials.org. The Atheist Community of Austin is hosting its own September 11 secular memorial on, what is that, Wednesday? Somebody told me Wednesday. Wednesday is the 11th?
I think Wednesday is the 11th.
We've reserved access to a park and a big stage, and we're bringing in balloons and banners and flags and all that kind of stuff. So that will be taking place here in Austin.
What does ombudsman mean exactly? Anybody know?
I don't know,
it's
but
from some Scandinavian country. It's
what, really?
Some Scandinavian language.
Ombudsland.
Yeah, that's probably from Ombudsland, or
yeah.
maybe Greenlander. I'm not sure.
I should know. I'm a social worker, and a lot of social work organizations have ombudsmen come in. You can get a job. Actually, and being an ombudsman is generally a volunteer position who comes in and sort of mediates problems that are going on, like in nursing homes and stuff like that. So I know what one does. I don't know what the word actually
I'm sure
means.
someone out there could Google it up.
I'm sure they could.
Tell us in the chat room.
That reminds me.
Anybody who wants to Google an ombudsman.
Speaking of words that we don't know what the hell they mean, we got some old business from last week. We did a story about this monkey that wandered into a temple in India, and because it wouldn't go away when they threw rocks at it, and because it wouldn't eat when they gave it food, but it just seemed to stay there and linger, they decided that it really was an incarnation of the monkey god Hanuman. And it said something about performing puja to this monkey. And none of us knew what the hell that was. And we asked our people in the chat room to hunt it down for us, and somebody sent us some links. Russell printed one out for me, and I read the thing. It didn't explain anything about what puja was. It was like all about when it is appropriate to perform puja. And, you know, inquiring minds want to know. So I did my own research, and I know now what puja is. Here is from a website on the subject, and I'm going to do it in the Hindu voice because that's always fun. Most of us have our favorite deities to whom we pray mentally. When we offer our worship externally to these deities by installing pictures, images, idols, kumbha or agni after due dhyana and avhana, the ritual is called a puja. So basically puja is displaying pictures and idols and stuff as opposed to praying. That's puja. And there's all different kinds of puja apparently.
And I take it that
different gods and groups of gods and stuff.
I take it that the Indian voice is not meant in any way to demean Indian people. It's just to add texture to the show.
Sure.
Okay.
Right. It puts it in its context. wasn't funny.
No, what ombudsman...
We have a report. Yes, from the chat room.
According to Quill of Numenor.
Quill of Numenor, thank you.
Let's see. An ombudsman is one, a government official, as in Sweden or New Zealand, appointed to receive and investigate complaints made by individuals against abuses or capricious acts of public officials. 2, one that investigates reported complaints, as from students or consumers, reports findings, and helps to achieve equitable settlement. Well, that doesn't really tell us where it comes from. But
it comes from the French word "umboss," which means commission, and "master," which means man.
We are so freaking educational today.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And would you please stop bouncing? Please. All right. Now, speaking of India, we have all these stories linked together in a beautiful causal chain. Or at least say what?
Must be a sign.
Sure, it's proof that there's a dog.
Proof that there's lots of gods.
We did the story about the monkey last week, right? I have a follow-up. It's a sad follow-up. Monkey worshipped to death. About 4,000 devotees attended the funeral in southern India of a monkey they believed to be the incarnation of a Hindu god. The animal strayed several weeks ago into a temple dedicated to the monkey god Hanuman in Timaganapalli village in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Villagers refused to release it, and hundreds visited each day seeking its blessings and garlanding it with flowers. Animal rights activists said the monkey, which collapsed on Saturday, died of starvation and exhaustion. One said it clearly needed help and we wanted to move it to a veterinary hospital, but the villagers refused to cooperate.
Apparently one of the reasons why it didn't flee the temple was that it was partially paralyzed.
Yes, I have that here in my story. When the villagers discovered the monkey sitting on Hanuman's idol, they thought it was a reincarnation of the ancient god because it didn't eat and wouldn't move. And they refused to let it out of the temple. Quote, the monkey was old and both its hind legs were paralyzed, said Narendra Reddy, a local human rights activist.
How did it get there?
I must have crawled.
You know, I think this is
maybe it fell from the rafters onto the statue and just couldn't get down because it broke its spine. Who knows? Right. But it was more important to these people.
I think this is the origin of the Christ myth, too. Basically, he couldn't get away. He climbed a tree. They wouldn't let him down.
We have some more news from the wonderful nation of India, did we not?
Pardon me, I just have to dig it out of the sand here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this breeze, it's a little annoying because there's grit all over the news story.
Yeah, but in this one, pilgrims flock to Divine Potato.
What?
Pilgrims are flocking to a house in Bombay where they believe that elephant-headed Hindu Lord Ganesha has appeared in the shape of a potato.
Oh, come on, it's just paralyzed.
Yum, yum.
The potato is said to be shaped like the Lord Ganesha, and people are offering money and gifts to seek the blessing of the divine vegetable. The vegetable...
That Ganesha, you know, he's one of my favorite gods. He's a real party vegetable.
Oh, yeah. The vegetable was grown in Uttar Pradesh and brought in by Najmuddin Alibai Jasani, a fruit and vegetable exporter. It was about to be eaten by the family when Mr. Jasani's sister-in-law noticed the resemblance to Lord Ganesha.
Oh, good grief. And we think it's stupid when people see Jesus in, window stains.
Yeah,
it is stupid.
I had a rough stain on my fridge that, mysteriously appeared, and I was going, whoa, it's Jesus, right? And then I realized it was just Willie Nelson.
The potato's fame spread after it was featured in local newspapers. The main living room of the family home has been turned into a shrine to the potato. Around 60 or 70 people a day are visiting the shrine to leave gifts of marigolds and money. It's understood that the money will be given to a religious charity.
Well, duh. Probably the temple of Ganesh.
Is it reclining on a couch?
You don't have to stop bouncing on your beach ball, but if you don't, my eyes are going to be going like this, okay? And I am not going to apologize. So it's up to you.
It's a divine potato, not a couch potato.
They won't even give the poor potato a couch to sit on? Is that what you're telling us?
What?
Never mind. Do we have any other interesting news from across this great ocean that we are enjoying today during the show? What coast are we on? I have no idea what stretch of beach we've even situated ourselves on. Does anybody have a clue?
I don't know. I mean, that's just where the helicopter left us, you know?
It sounds kind of northwestern to me.
We're a Bora Island off the coast of Tahiti.
Is that where we are? I didn't know we could afford that.
Good, because I hear it's raining in Austin.
Oh, yeah, and there's all the bare-breasted women.
Oh, yeah.
Don't look, Jeff. It'll be too distracting.
Well, they're not bouncing on big beach balls. Does anybody else have any interesting foreign news?
I had a story about a woman who claimed to be possessed and went to India to become unpossessed.
Cool.
I don't know.
but we're cutting down on how many
we're cutting down on news stories also.
Because our shows have been taken over by news, and we never have enough interesting discussion, as Mary was right to point out last week. So let's move on.
Okay.
Would you like to do another news story?
Sure.
Go ahead.
And now in other news.
Yeah.
A student Wiccan agrees to hide Wiccan symbol is readmitted to classes. There was a student who was wearing a Wiccan necklace that was banned by some North Texas school administrators. That upon being hidden under the student's blouse, she was allowed to return to classes. The parents of the 15-year-old, well, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the high school name, freshman Rebecca Marino.
Waxahachie.
Oh, okay.
You're new to Texas.
Yes, I am. Suspended for wearing the pentacle jewelry, were scheduled to meet with educators Thursday to appeal the suspension. Marino was suspended by school officials when the school year began 2 weeks ago. School officials let her come back Wednesday only after she agreed to hide the pentacle, a 5-pointed star in a circle. The school dress code prohibits display of the pentacle, swastika, and drug-oriented jewelry, because we all know, how violent and hostile a pentacle, is and how offensive they are.
Right.
Representing the different, four elements. And school officials said they banned the pentacle several years ago because its designs became associated with devil worship, which is a blatant lie. The pentacle is not associated with...
But suppose it... Okay, yeah, but suppose
a bunch of wankers
but suppose it was. Devil worship is legal in this country. If you want to worship the devil, you can.
That's freedom
You
of
have
religion.
the freedom to do
True.
that.
Yes, this is very true.
So that's an admission of religious bias by saying that's why they outlawed it.
The Marino family believes their daughter should be able to wear the pentacle in full view because it is part of her religion. So they're appealing the ruling.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca's mother said the family's initial decision to hide the pentacle was to protect their daughter. Education,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Education is very important to our family. We are making this concession to limit the amount of harm to her.
What astonishes me is, these same right-wing fundamentalist assholes scream up and down when there's a constitutional violation involving the posting of their religious laws on public land. And they scream up and down about...
Or prayer that they like in school.
Or prayer that they like in school. They scream up and down when those things are taken out that they're being oppressed. They turn right around and oppress other religions that they don't like.
It's just a culture war, and they're not in favor of freedom of religion. They're in favor of freedom for their religion.
Yeah.
Not others.
Yeah. George Carlin is a sun worshiper, at least according to a bit he did on...
I thought he was a Joe Pesci worshiper.
Yeah.
That's true. He gave up the sun and went to worship Joe Pesci.
Every album he worships something different.
Does he?
I don't know. He's a serial monotheist.
Russell, you got another thing you want to do, or shall I move on? I have another follow-up to a...
What?
I have another follow-up to a previous story. Shall I do that?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. We have been covering, carefully monitoring the case of a girl in Calgary, Canada, who had leukemia, and her family were Jehovah's Witnesses, and so she was not allowed to have her blood transfusions for religious reasons. But then the father had it explained to him, no, she's gonna die, like, right away if you don't do this. He signed the paperwork, and the blood transfusions began, and the family promptly began shunning the father. He's now been separated from his wife, and they drove him away. They wouldn't let him see the daughter, and now she has died.
Wow.
Bethany Hughes, the 17-year-old Calgary girl known publicly as Mia, died mid-afternoon on Thursday. Her best friends, mother Arliss and younger sister Cassandra, at her bedside. Hughes was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia in February. She lost her battle just after 2 p.m. at an Edmonton clinic. Tired and struggling to speak, Hughes took her last few hours to thank people. Her family, her friends, even the doctors and nurses who cared for her. It is unclear whether she thanked the father who enabled her to receive treatment. Previous reports are that she hated him. Because according to the Jehovah's Witnesses, if anybody else's blood enters your bloodstreams, you can't go to heaven. For 8 months, Hughes battled cancer that racked her body and fought a province that forced her to undergo close to 40 blood transfusions against her will. So she's had the blood transfusions. So, according to this family's beliefs, she is destined for hell. Right?
I guess they believe in the resurrection of the body, and the body has to be intact.
All right.
Not mixed with another.
Or wherever it is they think she's going. It ain't heaven. It ain't what everybody else gets.
If she was originally going to heaven, and the person whose blood was going to heaven, then it's both.
Should just be a wash, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't matter.
I think so.
I don't know.
Just have mixed up people in heaven, that's all.
Who was destined for hell had their blood enter your body, then you'd go straight to hell. But
And I'm appalled by the phraseology used in this article. She was not battling cancer. Battling cancer involves making use of medical means to combat the cancer. She wasn't battling her cancer. She was
submitting to it.
She was submitting to her cancer. She was battling medicine. A staunch Jehovah's Witness, she opposed the use of blood products and was made a temporary ward of Alberta's Children's Services. So strong were her beliefs, she battled every transfusion, sometimes trying to pull out intravenous tubes and struggling with nurses. And then there's nothing here about her family, coming in and saying, "Oh dear, we love you, but it's too bad. You're going to die and go to hell," or whatever Jehovah's Witnesses think happen to people that get transfusions, and we'll never see you again after you die. I mean, there's no hint here about whether they stuck to their beliefs when it came to comforting their own daughter. Right. In a heartfelt plea to a provincial court judge in early July, Hughes pleaded for her freedom, doubting she would live through the weekend. Pleading for her freedom. Her freedom? Her freedom to receive medical attention? I guess in her case, the freedom to reject medical attention. Yeah. She proved herself, she didn't think she'd live through the weekend, but that was because she started getting the frickin' transfusions. She proved herself and her doctors wrong. No, the doctors proved her wrong. She did live through the weekend. She got the transfusions. Last month, she told the Herald I guess this is a newspaper, in an exclusive interview, that she was glad to make it to her 17th birthday. That was just 2 weeks ago. And again, it is unclear whether she thanked her father for setting aside his stupid-ass religious beliefs and signing the paperwork so that she could get the transfusion. Because clearly, that is why she lived long enough to reach her 17th birthday. After a rough night Wednesday, Hughes was rushed by ambulance to Cross Cancer Institute. Her mother and sister sang songs to keep her spirits up, talking to her and comforting her. Yeah, they sang songs to comfort her while trying to convince her to kill herself. Yeah. Her mother hopes her legacy lives on, and so do I. "I always thought she was special because I'm her mom, but she really was," she said. "Even when she was sad or tired or sick, she always tried very hard to be happy. People just need to remember her love of life, her care and thoughtfulness to everyone." What love of life? Love of life is when you fight to stay alive, where you do what you need to do to stay alive. She didn't love life, she loved death, and she loved the idea of going to heaven. Right. So much so that even after she had received the transfusions and was doomed by her religious beliefs to not go to heaven, she kept refusing the transfusions. It didn't matter anymore.
So do you think it would be politically incorrect to refer to the Jehovah's Witnesses or maybe Christianity in general as a death cult?
No, I think it's entirely appropriate to refer to Christianity and the Jehovah's Witnesses as a death cult. By the way, Mr. Producer?
Yes?
I think we may need to periodically reboot the ocean because it seems to be fading out and going away periodically.
I turned it down.
Yeah, you turned down the ocean, yeah. Yeah.
Man, look at the size of that wave machine.
You have awesome powers, Mr. Producer. I'll never know how you do it.
No,
wait, it's back.
Remember a few
He held up his rod and then...
Remember a few minutes ago when we...
Wait a minute. It's Moses. Moses, stop parting our frickin' waters, dude. Okay. Yes?
Remember a few minutes ago when I silently moved us a few feet away from the ocean?
Yeah.
Because they were saying that they couldn't hear us too well over the ocean.
Were they?
That's why we had to walk away like that.
All right. Who said that? Did we get complaints from the chat room?
Charles.
Ha! They're just jealous because we're at the beach and they're not.
I just figured it was because we were getting water on our speakers or something. I didn't think the sound was too loud. Okay.
Hugh's death was a...
Yeah.
Can I go on with my tragic story? Hugh's death was a bitter blow to her father, Lawrence, who separated from his wife several months ago after disagreeing over his daughter's stance on blood transfusions. Lawrence said he was kept from seeing his daughter even as she died. He blames the Jehovah's Witnesses Church for keeping him from his daughter in her final hours. He plans on mounting a worldwide class action suit against the Watchtower Society.
Oh yeah, that's going to work.
Quote, sad and angry, very angry, he said, while traveling to Edmonton to see his daughter's body. Quote, I didn't even get a chance to see her. I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. I had a legal and moral right to see my children, especially my dying daughter, and they stopped me from doing that. I think what they have done is criminal.
Seems like it ought to be.
It ought to be, even if it's, I don't know the laws of Canada.
What's the age of consent? I mean, could she legally turn down medical attention if a parent said she should get it? What happens then?
I have something to say about that, the whole right to refuse medical treatment issue. Children's Services Minister, this is a government minister, not a minister, Iris Evans, said Bethany's death was very sad. Well, duh. It was one of the most tragic and difficult cases that I have ever had to contend with, Evans said. I suppose we'll never know what really is right. What? Isn't it a little scary to have a children's services minister say that she doesn't know whether it's right to provide children with proper medical care or not?
That is terrifying.
That person should not be in that job. Kind of reminiscent of that creepazoid down in Florida that got appointed by Jeb Bush, and then it came out that he is into the Child Welfare Department of Florida. And then it came out that the guy had co-authored
beating children.
Yeah, treatises on Christian child beating. David Nam, Hughes' Toronto-based lawyer, was in Edmonton on Thursday. He said the plucky 17-year-old was much more than a client. She wasn't thinking she was going to die. She wasn't talking in a somber tone. I think she knew she was failing, but she kept up that fighting spirit. What fighting spirit? Again, fighting death means using the tools at your disposal so that you don't die. That is having a fighting spirit. Saying, no, keep that satanic medical treatment away from me. I want to be called to my Lord is not fighting death.
And this... Go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing she was fighting was her medical care. Maybe she didn't think she was dying, but if so, it was because her religious cult blinded her to the facts. Hughes employed her lawyers to continue fighting her case, giving young people the right to make their own legal decisions.
How is this any different from convincing a kid to drink Kool-Aid with cyanide?
I can see no difference. Yeah. I can see no difference.
Seems the same to me, too. These people are like Jim Jones. Why isn't there that kind of hoopla about it that there was about Jim Jones?
I don't know. It's the same damn thing. Oh, you're going to die. You're going to die if this state of affairs
I remember
happens.
where I saw a comment on this now. Do you guys remember Jabriel in the Alt.Atheism or Alt.Atheism news group?
Right. By the way, howdy out there to anybody from the Alt Atheism News Group who's listening right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I
bunch of
read,
guys.
it was either there or Talk Origins,
Yeah.
where he posted some story, some editorial from a Jehovah's Witness rag that said something along the lines of, see, they forced her to get treatment and she died. That lot of good that your scientist did for us.
Good grief.
Oh my goodness.
It's like it's more important to these people to maintain their stupid-ass religious beliefs than to actually frickin' learn anything or make anything actually happen.
Yeah, it's bad.
This is one of the generally scary things about Christianity, especially when it gets out of hand in ways it tends to.
Yeah.
Like, I know some people who are down in the Amazon right now working with Stone Age people. And one of the things they're trying to do is save them from the missionaries.
Yeah.
Because the missionaries tend to come in and want to learn their language so that they can translate the Bible into it and teach them all about Jesus. And one of the things about the missionaries is they're kind of sloppy and they don't make good latrines. And so it is not uncommon for the missionaries to actually kill these Stone Age people who've never been contacted by people with European pathogens before, because they're too worried about saving their souls and not worried enough about risking their lives.
Good grief.
So my friends go around telling them, stay away from white people shit.
Wow.
Don't let those people use your latrine.
You know, when I was younger, I had a friend in high school that died of an asthma attack during PE class. And it was the first funeral I ever attended in my life. And the preacher, I think it was Baptist, went off about how wonderful this was of an opportunity for her, because she loved Jesus and told lots of stories about in her life when she had, even when she was a small child, she'd wake up in the middle of the night and see a man looming in her doorway and go to her parents and say, Mommy, I saw Jesus. And it just freaked me out because the way he was telling the story kind of made it sound like she had intentionally left her asthma respirator in her PE locker so that she could meet Jesus, who she was so in love with. And it made me
that was a wonderful thing.
And that was a wonderful thing. And that was supposed to make us feel better. But what scared me was that there were influenceable people here who were like, oh, well, maybe I'll leave my... they could very easily say, maybe I'll leave my respirator in my locker so that it won't actually be suicide and I will go to heaven and be with Jesus and I can just not have to put up with this horrible planet that we live on.
It's hard to concentrate on this subject with the beautiful sunlight and waves. Astonishing newsflash, everybody, in case it never occurred to you.
Ooh, the grit.
Death sucks. Death is a bad thing.
Yes.
When it happens, it's not good. You don't make it good by, telling cute little stories about what your invisible ghost that lives inside your body does after you die. That doesn't make it good. Death sucks. It sucks at every stage, from beginning to end. We don't want it, and we should be making real efforts to extend life, to cure disease, and to solve this mortality problem.
And this is one of the things I find just very annoying about the way people talk about catastrophes like the 9/11 thing with the World Trade Center, that people keep bringing religion into it. And it's like, look, some people killing a bunch of people, and those people actually die. No, to say that they're going off to a better place minimizes the tragedy. It's like, hell, why bother with a memorial? I mean, just have a celebration that they got to go to the better place.
Have you guys spent any amount of time listening to the Atheist Network when we're not on?
Yes, I do a lot. Mostly though, I must admit, I have been listening to about 5 or 6 episodes of the Hour of Slack a day because I go to their archive site.
Do you ever hear Neil Bortz come on?
No.
Sorry, Neil Bortz is the asshole who broadcasts here.
Oh, sorry.
Tom Likas.
Oh, yeah, right.
He's got these great little mini dialogues with listeners because he's an atheist, and he talks about so God meant those babies to die because they deserved it. And she says, no, he was probably punishing the parents. And he's like, okay, so he killed the baby because he was punishing the parents. No, that's not it. There's just this great little round and round stuff.
Unbelievable doublethink.
It's funny how people think that life would be meaningless without God. But it seems like life is meaningful You know, that it's meaningful to be a human being, whether you believe in God or not. That's the way we're built, whether we're built that way by God or by evolution. But my life means something to me. And when people die, it isn't about God. It's about people dying. And to make it all about God, it's like, this is so not about God. This is so about people not existing anymore, which is a great, big, stinking deal.
Right.
Maybe we should talk about your temple service.
Yeah, well, that kind of segues into the service that I want to, but we can talk about that at the end of the show.
Let's do that. No, that's all right. That's all right. We're flexible here. So you are of Jewish descent.
I am of Jewish descent.
As is our producer, Russell.
Yeah, me too.
You consider yourself a Jew. So.
I am a practicing cultural Jew. I'm a practicing,
as opposed to a religious Jew.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a practicing atheist ethnic Jew. And today, the Jewish New Year, and as I've done on every Jewish New Year, before I flew out to Bora Bora Island, I went to temple. Actually,
they haven't got a Jewish temple on Bora Bora?
Yeah, well, you know.
I don't know.
Aren't too many
Strangely,
Jews
I know
here.
nothing about Bora Bora, even though I'm sitting here on a blanket under an umbrella, sipping, what is this, Sex on the Beach?
Yeah.
Actually, I traded in my Sex on the Beach for one of those coconut things. I love those.
What is in those?
Coconut.
It's got to be some kind of rum thing, right?
Yeah. Let me see. Coconut filled with rum. I think it's got some pineapple stuff here.
Ooh, that's good.
I went to services and how did we segue into that?
No, don't worry about it.
Oh, the whole life is meaningless thing.
Right, the whole meaning of life deal.
And never in my history as a practicing Jew have I ever heard them talk about it this way. But they started talking about how our lives are meaningless and our everyday activities are meaningless and the things that we do don't mean anything. And the only thing that brings meaning to our lives is knowing that we will go on to a better place after we die, and I was furious.
That's
and
horrible.
I got up and I walked out of the temple.
Wait, who's
And
they?
my understanding is that this
it?
goes against the main thrust of Judaism from the beginning. That the main thrust of Judaism has always been about this life, not about believing in an afterlife.
As far as I know, early Jews didn't even have a concept of an afterlife.
Right.
So, I mean, this is really Judaism Texan style.
But when you say they, who were they?
This was
Just the rabbis?
Yes.
I don't need names.
Rabbis. What should I name the temple I was at?
You can do that.
I was at the temple, and I'm not sure if that would be appropriate. I don't want to slander anyone. It was.
You can say that you didn't. Paul wants us not to say. Okay. All right, fine. Go on.
It was the rabbis and the lay readers, the people that were coming up to take a little part in the service, reading prayers and stuff like that. And I was appalled. I was horrified. I'd never experienced. In fact, a huge part of the reason that I am a practicing Jew, even in light of the fact that I'm an atheist, is because that's not what it's about.
Right.
It's about life. It's about Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah are actually a very beautiful holiday that I enjoy participating in and I enjoy observing every single year.
The whole dreidel thing doesn't put you off?
That's Hanukkah.
Okay.
What's your problem?
Dreidel's fun.
So you got up in the middle of the service and you just stormed out.
Yes.
Was everybody else just sucking it up or what?
Yeah. Well.
Did you see any other puzzled looks or frowns
No, I mean we have sort of another person there, and I imagine she probably would have been storming about that because some of the prayers that they read last night were sort of along those lines, and she was kind of going, well, they don't usually read this kind of stuff. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice. I was too absorbed in my own rage and.
Yeah, that's understandable.
One of the things that's interesting about Judaism that a lot of people who don't hang out with Jews don't know, or who aren't Jews, is that most Jews in America, at least, are accepting of people who don't believe in God. There's a big fraction of Jews in America who don't believe in God, and they can still be considered good Jews by most other Jews. So you can have a Reformed temple especially where, a bunch of the people who show up are atheists, and that's okay. You can still be a good Jew, be a good person. And it's not like the way a lot of Christians believe, that if you don't believe in God, then you can't be a good person, because if you don't believe that you should do what God wants you to do, and you don't try and do what God wants you to do, you'll want to just go rape, loot, pillage, and burn or something. And which is nonsense. And this is one of the things I find most interesting about Jews, is that they are a counterexample to this very widely held belief among the majority of Christians. Because, and I'm sort of outing the Jews here, right, that most Christians don't realize that so many Jews are actually atheists or agnostics, and their religion is not centrally about belief in God. Mm-hmm. And that they don't generally believe that you get morality that way. They think you have to think about it, and they don't take the scriptures literally.
Right. The stereotypical scene of the Hasidic rabbis walking down the street arguing with each other at the top of their lungs. That's the sort of thing that Judaism encourages, is people just arriving at conclusions by arguing about it, which is why Jews have, like in addition to the Torah, they have the Talmud, which is a compilation of things that people have argued about with respect to their religious books.
Huh. And I think the Talmud, or one of those, little branch-off books, actually talks about afterlife things that don't show up in the Torah, because the Torah is not about that.
Right. Well, part of the deal is that some belief in the afterlife showed up in Judaism a few hundred years before the alleged birth of Christ. And this was because of Greek and Roman influences, that, alien religions came and mingled with their culture, and people got a bunch of strange metaphysical ideas from other cultures. But for thousands of years before that, the Jews had not believed in an afterlife, and most of them still don't, or just don't know, and the religion's not about that. And one of the things that's interesting is a lot of Christians think that if you don't think you're going to get punished for being a bad person, you'll go ahead and be a bad person. But talk to a Jew about this sometime, especially a Jew who doesn't believe in an afterlife. It's like, well, why not go out and be a terrible schmuck, right? And it's like, I don't want a schmuck. People generally don't want to be schmucks. That's the real reason why people aren't generally schmucks.
But what freaks fundamentalists out about that, right, is that, but then if you had a guy who said he did want to be a schmuck, you would have no basis for saying that he was wrong. I mean, that really is their argument, right? That if there's no external, overarching, objective set of rules you got to live by, then anything goes. Right. Then it's every man for himself.
And then, of course, what they do is they take somebody who clearly is an enormous putz,
right,
and say that we get our morality from him, this guy who killed almost every human being on the planet at some point, punished people for not committing acts of genocide, all that wonderful stuff. And because there would be a moral vacuum if we didn't, we've got to go with this guy.
Yeah. Well.
We can come back to this later.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Move on?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's move on.
Well, I've got some stuff here. Pardon me?
Shall I do my rant?
Yeah, go ahead and do your rant. You got
about this.
You got a what is the phrase? You have a
beef. What's your beef?
What's your beef? Yeah.
I have a beef.
What's your beef? Where's the beef?
I have a broccoli.
Be quiet, vegan. I guess I've mentioned on the show quite a few times that I make it a habit of listening to Christian radio. And I often ask myself why I bother doing this. And in fact, one thing in particular that led me to ponder on this subject was when James Dobson's Focus on the Family show started doing their week-long retrospective on September 11th. And they had this interview with a woman who had escaped from the World Trade Center, and it was a very exciting and touching story. And then she said at some point, so I was on the stairwell, and I just think that all those people who were in there with me should be thanking me, because I was praying for them to get out alive.
This is
What?
Now, just ponder for a minute the implications of that worldview.
Astoundingly awesome arrogance.
Think about this.
She actually said they should be thanking me. Because if she hadn't been praying, then God would have said,
She has special pull with the Creator.
Right. But since she did pray, God said, I guess she doesn't want me to kill all those people.
Yeah, well, all those
this
people...
is how God makes decisions like this. He listens to the prayers, listens for lack of prayers, and says, okay, survey says we're going to kill those people.
Well, that's how he determines football matches, right?
Right.
Yeah, at Poke and Go's, local barbecue chain, the one that I went to, they usually have a chalkboard with pithy sayings on it, and one of them this week is, God always favors the football team that has the best coach.
Didn't Napoleon say that God favors the biggest army?
This guy was probably paraphrasing that, but
okay.
It's always nice to see,
we
kind
should
of
put
skeptical,
together a
rational
godless
viewpoint.
football team and just
And if we
not
ever
pray.
win, get him to explain it.
Yeah.
Get him to explain how. All those people who were not trampled by elephants in Travis County last month, they should all be thanking me for my daily ritual of spinning around 3 times to drive away elephants.
Yeah. I don't see any elephants around here,
That's
so that
right.
must be working.
Man, we're grateful.
Wait, there's
Thank
one.
you, Jeff.
Oh, you mean around there?
Well, there's an
Should be.
elephant seal over there. Does that count?
No, that doesn't count.
Spinning around
we're not
doesn't
in
drive
Austin,
away
you
elephant seals.
We're in Travis County. I said Travis County.
Yeah, but we're not
Oh my
there
God!
now.
Look at those elephants
We're
swimming
in
around.
Williamson? Oh, that's right.
Come on, Jeff.
I forgot. It's the strong drink. So
I think you've got too much
Almost
salt
like
water
we're
in your drink.
broadcasting from my upstairs, but of course
salt water
we're not.
gonna do?
I don't know.
Salt water have
You've been
weird-
drinking too much ocean water, too much seaweed.
Anyway.
I don't even know what to say to that. Where are we?
You've been in the sun
I
drinking.
was just saying.
There's a okay, yeah.
I mean, I keep listening to this Christian radio stuff, and it pisses me off. And then I think, why do I keep listening to this?
Why
And then
do
I
you
realize
keep listening to it, Russell?
the answer is there's no good talk radio in Austin.
Right.
Because
It's all been taken over, hasn't it?
everything is slanted toward either extremely conservative, pompous assholes like Rush Limbaugh and Neil Bortz, who I brain farted his name earlier, or insane right-wing fundamentalists, who we'll talk about later in another story that I have. But I don't think that. I mean, I think it's particularly
Well, it's kind of
pronounced
like
here.
watching-
Why are
Jerry
you
Springer.
distinguishing between insane right-wing fundamentalists and Rush Limbaugh?
They're the same, but they talk about different subjects.
Okay.
I've just it's come to my attention that even though people there was a terrific radio station about 2 years ago. Yeah, they broadcast G. Gordon Liddy some of the time.
Yeah.
And he's an asshole. But they also had, I think they had Tom Likas, who's on the Atheist
And they had a
Network.
local guy.
They had Shannon Burke, who was on our TV show once.
Came on our TV show.
Great guy, also.
An excellent show.
Lots of really smart, cool people. And then one day they just, with no warning, pulled the plug on that station and turned it into an easy listening station.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But the thing is, I don't think this is local to Austin. I think it's particularly pronounced in Austin. But I think in general, even though people claim that the media is liberal and all that,
Right.
in talk radio, there is a huge overweight. There is a huge, much larger emphasis on right wing.
Why do you think that is?
I do not know.
And do we have any actual
Basically
statistics to
because-
show that this is anything other than a local
Because
phenomenon?
liberals tend not to be enraged when you make fun of them, and conservatives tend to be enraged when you make fun of them. And so if you're going to make fun of somebody, the liberals will take it better.
Liberals, I would
Liberals have a
imagine,
sense of
tend to be by nature pretty easygoing people, and they're not out to convert everybody and shove their opinions in other people's faces. I say as I talk into a radio show.
I think you might be right, and that's what I'm really afraid of.
Yeah, well, it's sad.
That the consequence of that is that our trend toward conservatism in this country will continue until we get a few more incredibly egregious abuses of their power. And then we'll have to have something like another 1960s to bring us to our senses.
So, in other words, it's because we have a much higher threshold of pain.
Yeah, because it's the tolerant people who do not stand up immediately when something horrendous gets done or said and scream and demand reparations.
The conservatives are squeaky wheels and they get the grease.
Yeah.
And as Quilla Numenor says, yeah, there is always NPR, but no, there's not always NPR actually, because
the conservatives,
during the middle of the day, they're broadcasting lousy music most of the time. So,
and people are continually trying to shut down NPR, and if they lose their funding.
National Public Radio.
But there is no National Public Radio station. It's broadcast on the college radio station, KUT.
Okay.
And what they have is many different kinds of music, Russell, not bad music.
Okay.
Not the music Russell most favors.
Yes.
So.
Remember, we're the tolerant people, remember?
That's true. All right. It's not bad music. It's just misguided.
There was one more line that I wanted to read from the story. Are you done? Or you're not done? Go on. I'll get back to that in a second.
I don't know. I called Martin sometime last week because I was just so fed up after having been in the car for hours that day.
Yeah.
Having nothing to listen to, but these idiots ramble on and on about I don't know what, and they get so damn sarcastic about anybody who disagrees with them even slightly. I don't know. I'm just getting incoherent now. So,
all right. So you were pissed off. Well,
I was pissed off.
That's understandable. There's certain. I mean, I don't know. I mean, clearly, our entire country has gone in a weird direction in the past couple of decades, and I don't exactly know why.
Well, I think one of the problems is that there is a basic mimetic phenomenon that if you're sort of a berserker, people sort of steer clear of offending you. And one of the things that has made Christianity so successful is that it's a kind of a virus that disables people's defenses against it. And one of the things that's happened with the attitude towards religion in general is you're not supposed to be judgmental about religion.
Right.
Even when religious people are doing unreasonable things and saying you deserve to be tortured forever or whatever,
right,
it would be rude to point out to them that they're evil shitheads.
Right. Have you noticed how much Christians now have co-opted the language of tolerance, saying, how dare you be intolerant of my Christianity? I'm being persecuted. And they're like 90% of America now, and they talk about this like they're some minority living in ghettos.
Right. And I will take their interest in tolerance seriously when they say, yeah, God's really a dick if he burns you in hell forever.
Yeah, I agree. That last line from this story about the girl in Edmonton says her mother, it was never fake. She was always genuine. She really did love people, and she really did love life. Now, that's the third time they've said that in this story.
Really did die.
They keep saying that, and I just don't think those words mean what they think they mean.
Yeah. The irony is amazing.
She was a girl deluded into allowing herself to die for no good reason. I have some political legal issues here that we really ought to take a moment to discuss. Bush administration rewriting charity rules. Acting without congressional approval to implement President Bush's stalled faith-based initiative, 5 cabinet agencies are writing rules into federal law that lawmakers have balked at. The rules will help churches and other religious groups obtain millions of federal service dollars with few strings attached. At the Department of Health and Human Services, officials will let churches, synagogues, and mosques use federal money for programs infused with religion and to consider religion when hiring and firing their employees. It only makes sense, said Roberta Jones, the president of Cleveland-based Life Alternative Incorporated. I love that name. What is the alternative to life? That would be death. What was that about this being a death cult, Paul?
Yeah.
Cleveland-based Life Alternative Incorporated, one of 562 applicants for the new grant program. Imagine, she said, if a domestic violence victim comes to her for help. The first thing I'm going to do is pray with you, said Jones, whose group helps churches apply for government grants. I'm now using my religious art to really minister to this person. I'm going to go to the very thing that I'm comfortable with. That is so revealing. The necessity of allowing religion to be used in these programs is not because it necessarily does any good, but because the people in the programs offering the services have religious beliefs and they want to be comfortable.
Right.
They want to be comfortable.
Revolting.
Health and Human Services officials say there's no problem using tax dollars for a program in which prayer is central. Congress has refused to endorse that position, which is hotly disputed among Americans. Congressional action on Bush's effort is stalled over such questions. How much religion is too much when government money is involved? Also in contention is whether to let government-funded religious groups discriminate in hiring. The administration seems to be saying, we couldn't get the votes in Congress, so we're going to hijack every dollar we can and move it into faith-based ministries, said Barry Lynn, Executive Director of Americans United for the Separation of Church and State. And an astonishingly cool dude. At the Department of Housing and Human Development, officials are set to rewrite regulations governing 8 grant programs, which now bar religious groups if they are unwilling to hire people of all faiths. That creates an impediment to faith-based organizations. That's unnecessary, said Stephen Wagner, director of HUD's faith-based office. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not necessary to do away with slavery. We could have kept slavery. It's not necessary to give women the vote. It's not necessary to have laws against murder. Necessity is not the issue. Constitutionality is the issue. What kind of a country do we want to have here, and what do the rules need to be in order to have that kind of country?
Another issue is fungibility.
Fungibility.
Anybody in the chat room, please. Fungibility. Would you spell it for us all?
Money, Fungibility.
And does it have to do with how much
Fungibility
fun
is a
the
big
program
issue
is?
to fundamentalists in terms of funding. Because for something to be fungible, it means you can basically trade it off for something else.
Right.
So like money is fungible. You get money for this, you shift it over there, you can buy something entirely different with it.
Right.
And the fungibility argument against any government grants to things like Planned Parenthood is, suppose Planned Parenthood has some birth control efforts going, right?
Right.
And some abortion efforts going. And we give them money only for the birth control stuff. Well, maybe what that does is it frees up money they would have spent anyway that didn't come from the government, so that now they can go spend it on abortion. That's their argument against the U.S. government funding any organization that has any abortion option.
Right. And yet at the same time...
And at the very same time, they're saying, oh, but it's absolutely fine to give to religious organizations because, you know, they'd never misallocate money like that. But now they're going way across that line where they're saying, look, we actually want to fund programs that have a big prayer component. So they're like 2 big orders of magnitude beyond what they allow.
Didn't we actually have a story earlier this year where it turned out that a lot of this money was now going to be going to rebuilding churches or something like that?
I don't recall specifically. But I do know several of these programs have been shut down for violating exactly this restriction, right? For taking federal funds to do secular things and taking that and using that money to do religious things.
Were you asking what fungibility means?
I was. I know what it means.
He knows what it
They say
means.
it's not in the dictionary. Did I spell it wrong?
It's in my dictionary.
Ray Prime, it says the ability to grow in dark, dank places and look
Now,
ugly.
see, it comes from the Latin root fungi. It comes from the Latin root fungi, so I would imagine that would be an appropriate definition. But according to this, it says of such nature that one specimen. Of such a kind or nature that one specimen or part may be used in place of another specimen or equal in part to the satisfaction of an obligation.
It dates back to when people used hallucinogenic mushrooms as a medium of exchange.
I guess so.
Okay, that's very useful.
Yeah. maybe it just means it has to be something that is interchangeable, but also has the capacity to grow fungi if you leave it sitting long enough.
Ray Prime says, then porn is fungible.
What?
Being of a nature that one part or quantity may be replaced by another equal part or quantity. I don't get it.
You can trade it for lots of things.
Okay.
I guess so.
More if you're in prison.
Similarly, at the Education Department, officials are interpreting a new federal law on after-school programs as allowing groups to use religion in their hiring decisions. That prompted protests from Democrats who say they specifically barred this sort of discrimination under a carefully negotiated compromise. Initiatives are also advancing at the Justice and Labor Departments. So, that is what the Shrub administration is up to. They couldn't get these things actually enacted as law, with the support of Congress, right? By going to the people and finding out what the people actually wanted.
Use the power of the executive branch to come up with
And
regulations.
do it themselves.
You know,
Keryn
and I have been having a lot of discussions about this, thinking that Bush is really acting like he wants to be, I don't know, what would the term be, kind of a vigilante president.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a damn what the people who elected him or any other branch of government thinks. He wants to do what he wants, and we think if he could think of a way to do it, he would probably cancel the 2004 election.
Well, basically, these are impeachable offenses. A systematic pattern of coming up with regulations that violate the laws, that is, not cool under our Constitution. This is wildly unconstitutional. And the question is, will we hold his feet to the fire about it?
We should.
And the problem is,
we can't because we're in a war. And where do we get this war?
Exactly.
He caused it himself. It's a scheme.
Well,
it's a plot.
The
It's
Taliban has some part in it.
Oh yeah, creating a war against all terrorism because that's anything
to make it a war
fight.
rather than to make it a war on that nation rather than to go to the UN and say, look, we got these international crimes being committed. Let's use the international organization to deal with international matters, and going out there all John Wayne saying, why no, we're just going to go and bomb them into the Stone Age.
And fuck all you other world leaders, we don't care what you want.
And I'm still waiting to hear the justification for this war he wants to have on Iraq.
Yeah.
Other than they embarrassed my daddy,
right.
Other than that, what is the
I'm the
justification?
furthest thing from a fan of Saddam Hussein, but the reason why we left him in place in the first place still stands. That basically
what was the reason?
We didn't want a power vacuum there. That's why his dad didn't take him out. That basically they were afraid that there would be a power vacuum there and they would turn into a fundamentalist Islamic kind of thing like Iran. And so they basically said, he's the lesser of the evils, and they left him in place. And that's what they've been doing all along. The United States have been selling arms to both sides in the war between Iran and Iraq and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Everybody's been doing that. Everybody's been making money for those people killing each other.
We were giving millions and millions and millions of dollars to Afghanistan.
Right.
While the Taliban was in power. We were giving the Taliban millions and millions and millions of dollars. Why? Well, one reason was because their fundamentalist religious beliefs were also against drugs. And so they were our allies against drugs.
Funny you should bring that up since Amanda just brought it up in the chat room.
Oh,
too.
did she?
Yes.
Yep.
You guys think so much alike.
When I
we
originally
have access to the same information.
When I originally read this story about Bush trying to push faith-based initiatives behind Congress's back, the author of the particular version that I read has a little side note that says, we leave for another day the discussion of what role Congress should play in approving an all-out war on Iraq. And it's just, along with this little conspiracy theory that Russell and I keep bantering, he's going to go behind everybody's back and, cause this all-out war just so that when elections come around, he can say, we're in a war, I think we shouldn't have elections because it would disrupt,
Well, he probably won't go that far. He can just rely on the fact that usually during a war, we stick with the current.
I don't personally think they're going to go that far. They're going to just be more like Nixon was. Nixon just wants to use the power of the executive branch illegally and unconstitutionally to promote his funding agencies like Enron, their agenda, and get reelected because war presidents are popular, as long as the war doesn't go south before the election.
All right. So, meanwhile, on the subject of the government and the impending theocracy, Congress is ready to move on church electioneering bills. Now, this story was from September 3rd, and it's written with a certain deadline pressure. I don't know exactly when this vote is taking place. It's possible that I'm actually late with this, but I will read it anyway. 2 measures, just in time for upcoming elections and the presidential race in 2004, would give churches and other houses of worship unprecedented powers to begin openly endorsing political candidates, campaigning, and lobbying to influence legislative issues, all while retaining their special privileged tax-exempt status.
Wow.
Organized religion...
Can't give that up.
Yeah. Organized religion already does many of these things, but churches are, in theory anyway, limited in how far they may go in trying to influence our political system. H.R. 2931 and H.R. 2357 are both designed to vastly inflate the powers of churches, mosques, temples, and other religious groups in backing partisan candidates and pouring money, hard and soft, into campaigns. H.R. 2931 is the so-called Bright Line Act. It would permit religious groups to use up to 20% of their annual untaxed income for lobbying. H.R. 2357 is disingenuously entitled the Houses of Worship Legal Speech Protection Act. Sponsored by Representative Walter Jones, it would amend the tax code to, quote, permit churches and other houses of worship to engage in political campaigns. H.R. 2357 is likely to enjoy the support of key congressional movers and shakers. Churches and other houses of worship have pushed the envelope on federal guidelines pertaining to their involvement in partisan campaigns. Blatant violators are sometimes caught, but there is minimal oversight. Time is short. Congress has set early adjournment so that members can return to their home districts for a round of campaigning. The Bush administration hopes to rush a slew of religion-friendly bills through the legislative process. Congress needs to hear from you now. Visit www.atheists.org/action and follow the link to the American Atheists' latest campaign. Get talking points, information resources, and tips on writing to your elected officials. Okay, so good grief, folks. That's important.
The Patriot Act that we were just talking about, I guess.
Are we?
Somebody in the chat room says...
I forget which is the Patriot Act.
It's
one of these cleverly misnamed
is the one
pieces of legislation.
that says Bush can do whatever he wants without getting approval from the Congress.
In times of war. In times of war.
Yeah. This is based on security issues about terrorism.
Did this pass or something? What is this?
No, I'm not sure. I'm going to need more clarification. But somebody in the chat room gave me a link to what has or is going to change under the Patriot Act.
Oh.
And it's stuff like government can monitor anything even if they don't suspect criminal activity.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, doing an atheist audio show,
yeah.
I spend so much of my time focusing on directly atheist-related issues that, simple matters of
civil rights
and personal liberty and justice and so on. Pretty much
like Ashcroft running the government.
Pretty much. Well, not so much Ashcroft. Him being a fundamentalist wacko, it's easy to find stories about his craziness. But things not directly related to religious issues, pretty much going over my head. I am kind of out of the loop as far as that's concerned. You need a different audio show to find out about that kind of thing.
Yeah, sorry, not really on topic.
Would you like to do another story, Keryn?
Sure, I've got another story.
Please do.
About
Can I do Kent Hovind next?
Yes, you can do Kent Hovind. What do you mean do? I mean, he's not here. Don't you know he's in jail right now, isn't he?
Don't give
or
it
is he out on bail?
Actually, I think he's out on bail. But anyway,
he might have fled to where are we again?
And speaking of being in prison.
Yeah. Oh.
I have an article titled "KY Prison Suspends Satanic Services."
I think that means Kentucky rather than
Kentucky. I hadn't a clue. Like the whole whole 17-year-old police officer thing.
Right. Yes. Go on.
Reading news is hard.
It is. It's not as easy
all these
as you
weird
might think.
abbreviations.
Okay, so the KY prison.
Yeah.
They're really nice to the prisoners who are about to get anally raped. Sorry.
Whoa! You saw that line and you just leaped over it.
Much better than the no case.
Anyway.
Tasteless comment for the week.
I did mine already. Oh, that was before we started.
Yeah, so anyway, the State Department of Corrections suspended formal satanic services by inmates at one Kentucky prison yesterday until officials can research and develop a statewide policy. Inmates at Green River Correctional Complex, a medium-security prison in Central City, have been allowed since earlier this summer to hold weekly satanic services as part of the official religious service calendar, said Lisa Carnahan, a spokeswoman for the State Department of Corrections. The state suspended the services after the Herald Leader inquired about the issues this week. Inmates in at least 2 of the state's other 14 prisons practice Satanism on their own, said Carnahan, who surveyed the institution's wardens. There's no statewide policy on whether Satanism can be practiced by inmates, and the decision is left up to each warden.
Isn't there simply a statewide policy of religious, freedom?
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't there a nationwide
You know,
policy
yeah.
I
of
don't-
non-establishment of religion?
Yeah.
People in
Doesn't
prison
this go back a ways?
have so many
Yeah.
of their rights
1780
withheld.
something?
I mean,
People in prison have so many of their rights withheld. I don't know if freedom of religion can be one of those. I mean, can
But
someone...
my
But
point
that
is-
would amount to a government establishment of religion. You can take away people's civil
I
rights in
think so
various
too,
ways, but you
yeah.
take it away in that one, that's a government endorsement of the other religions.
Right.
That's
I mean, they're
unconstitutional.
suggesting that somewhere there must be a big list of the approved religions versus the non-approved religions, and they want to find out what list the Satanism is
violation of the
in.
established
Well, the answer
laws.
is there is only one list. It's all approved religions because you have religious freedom. There is no such thing as a religion that they are free to say, no, you can't practice that one.
Right, so even if we're allowed to take away prisoners' civil rights, we're not allowed to favor one religion over another when doing it. That's the Constitution.
Right.
Well,
now,
see, that's-
so if all they were doing...
If they said we'll suspend all religious observance,
that would be okay.
that would be okay.
I mean,
Say
I'm
you
wondering
could-
if they do that. If there's like a mass murderer who's in,
Actually, I think it wouldn't be okay.
who's in a like maximum security president who's like happens to be Jewish and it's Yom Kippur, is he allowed to go to temple? Is he allowed to leave church for the day and go hang out with all the kids in temple?
Well, I think there are fair restrictions they can impose. Like, you're in prison, no, you can't leave prison to do this thing that has to happen in
We'll
Mecca.
let your rabbi come
Right.
visit you
We
and
don't
talk
let you
through
do
the bars. We're
Right.
not going to let you out to go to
Right,
temple.
and if there were, for example, suppose these satanic services involved a sacrificial dagger, right? A sharp, pointy sacrificial dagger. I could see them saying, no, I'm sorry, you're going to have to perform your rituals without the sharp, pointy dagger because this is prison and we don't let you have those. That would be a fair restriction, right? But simply raising the question of, hey, maybe we can ban this. Let's stop
The
it
answer
right
should
now
be a clear
while
no,
we
you cannot.
Yeah, let's stop it completely now while we review it, right? Oh, that's a nice angle too, right?
Need
Because
more
it's-
study.
Yeah, we're not done studying it yet. You're not going to be able to resume until we're through with our study. There's no frickin' study required. That we have religious freedom in this country. They can do their satanic service if they want.
Well, Carnahan's been researching to see what they are required to allow under the law. What is the maximum
How do people
they
not
can
know
be
this?
required to allow? But
Who's this guy? What is his job?
This is a woman, actually, and
I'm sorry,
she is
Carnahan.
her name. Where did it go? It was up at the top somewhere. Lisa Carnahan, a spokeswoman for the State Department of Corrections.
She's the spokeswoman, and she's researching.
I guess so.
Shouldn't the person that she represents be doing the research, and the woman shut the fuck up until they figure out what they can actually say? I'm sorry. This whole thing is really is wrong very many ways.
It's very wrong. She says we've found information that indicates that satanic services could be a threat to the institution. So for now, they won't aid or abet satanic worship.
Put a threat to the institution? How?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it involves daggers or, cutting off chicken heads and rubbing themselves in lamb's blood. I don't know.
It doesn't harm the prison system if these guys coat themselves in blood. As long as it's not, the other inmates or the guards or something.
So of course they don't give any details, so we don't know what these hypothetical things that could be a threat are.
Maybe they're afraid that satanic evil spells will be cast upon the prison system.
They're afraid it's going to work.
Oh, no.
Good
yeah, that's
grief.
probably it, state officials began working a few months ago to draft a policy on religious services, including Satanism and witchcraft, as practiced in the Wiccan religion, which is a blatant lie because Satanism has nothing to do with the Wiccan religion.
Right.
I just want to throw that in.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes me very mad when people...
Wiccans are generally white magic types. They don't
White magic types
they don't
love
believe
nature,
in
hug
Satan.
trees.
They don't believe in this Satan
and according
nonsense,
to...
they don't believe in any of that Christian mythology.
And according to a story we did last week or the week before about the Satanists that want to be involved in the March on Washington.
Satanists don't even believe in Satan.
Satanists don't even believe in Satan, right? So,
well, but they're not saying
that they could have already spent months drafting this policy. The policy is, look, you can do whatever, you can have whatever religious beliefs you want, you hold whatever religious ceremonies you want that don't raise direct, immediate security issues. That's it. What other policy could they possibly need besides that?
I don't know.
So who else is in prison, Russell?
Well, it's a good thing that, what?
Oh, this is just apropos nothing really, but I think actually there may have been a Wiccan who cast a spell on me recently.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I think it didn't work because I didn't go out with it.
Eventually it says, she made a decision to give them their own private room that they can be monitored and perform this ritual in.
Or do the other religious groups have a special room where they're monitored?
I guess so, a chapel.
I guess.
Okay.
Oh, it says in the past other inmates across the country have asked for candles, candle holders, incense, a gong, black robes, chalices, and shortened wooden staffs or other objects, but Carnahan said that to her knowledge, inmates at Green River have only asked to copy satanic materials.
Nothing wrong with that.
And that is a threat to them.
It's a huge threat.
Copying bits of Anton LaVey's silly book threatens them.
That's grief.
All right.
Anyway,
so,
it's a good thing that they don't allow satanic rituals in there, because I know at least one person who's now in prison would be very upset by it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how many
Who's
people.
that?
I don't know how many people know Kent Hovind, but anybody who
Personally?
reads talkorigins.org pretty regularly will see him brought up at least once a month in their mail section.
He's one of these creationist fanatics.
He's one of the most insane creationist fanatics. He's one of the kind of guys who believes that dinosaurs are still walking the earth. In fact, he has gone so far as to do a mimic of James Randi's $1 Million Challenge by saying, "I will give
that guy.
That guy. I will give $250,000 to any evolutionist who proves in front of a panel of my choosing that evolution is true." And there's a whole amusing story behind how a bunch of people have looked into his challenge and discovered that he's asking people to prove things true that aren't actually true and nobody claims is true, and that the panel that he's chosen is secret and probably made up of creationists. And as far as we know, he doesn't have $250,000 since he was busted for tax evasion many years in a row.
Ha!
And he has his doctorate in from a
diploma mill.
Right, from a diploma mill. There's actually a picture of his college on the web, which is a little suburban house.
And this is the one
a friend of his lives in, if I'm not mistaken.
This is one of those tax-exempt nitwits who is in line to receive your tax dollars if they pass those bills.
Damn right. If you want to see more of him, you can go to drdino.com on the web. That's his official website. And he was arrested about 2 weeks ago, it looks like, from the story.
Yeah, he could be out by now, it doesn't say.
I think I read that he was out on bail. The bail was only set at $1,000.
Oh, yeah, he's out.
Let's see, and I've taken the liberty of going to tinyurl.com and making a tiny URL so that you can jump straight to the news group discussions of this.
Oh.
If you want to, it's tinyurl.com/1c7m.
Hey, neat. So that website, you go there and say, here's a big long URL I want to direct people
type
to,
in your link,
and they give you a short one.
Right. They
Cool.
Make a shorthand URL for a big awkward URL.
I don't know that it lasts forever, but
Yeah, but that's incredibly keen.
yeah, it is pretty keen. There's also makeashorterlink.com, but since tinyurl is shorter, they win.
All right.
Anyway, they've got the actual police report up there on alt.atheism, and it says, on this date, August 15th, Dr. Hovind came to the residence of his tenant, so he rents houses out to people, at 100 Cummings Street, where he made contact with Trudy Owen at the front door and attempted to provide her with money in order for her to relocate residency. So he offered the people who are renting his house
money to move out.
Money to leave.
Okay.
It doesn't say why. Trudy Owen said she refused
Probably
to accept the money.
or something.
Said she refused to accept the money, asking Dr. Hovind to leave as she shut the front door. Dr. Hovind then forced the front door open, knocking Ms. Owen backwards and entering into the structure, and began yelling loudly and acting in a hostile and aggressive manner, putting Owen in fear for her safety. Victim Christopher Kenway, also residing at this residence, attempted to intervene with this altercation, where Dr. Hovind then became physically aggressive toward Kenway, where Christopher then physically wrestled him out of his residence and onto the front porch, then slamming the door, locking it, and calling the sheriff's office to report this incident. Now, I'm going to skip down to a later part of the report, because, Jeff, you have some interesting...
Yes, I do. I have a follow-up.
Upon my departure at this location, says the police who filed the report, a secondary witness, Paul Jewell, arrived and stated to me that he was driving down the road during the time of this incident and merely saw Dr. Hovind standing on the front porch at 100 Cummings Street. He further stated that he did not observe any altercation. Jeff?
Okay. Now, according to a source on alt-atheism...
Oh, yeah, we're being reminded that Kent Hovind has once been on Reggie's show.
That's right. I don't know if that link is the link to that show is still available, or whether it's a thing you'll have to pay Reggie for the right to read to listen to the old audio stream. But but it was hilarious. It was Kent Hovind and Massimo Pigliucci. I never know how to pronounce his name.
Something like that.
But it was hilarious. According to a source on alt-atheism who says that he followed up on this, the secondary witness mentioned in the police report just happens to be Dr. Hovind's son-in-law, who just happened to be driving down that same road at that same time, and just happened to be driving slow enough to see the whole thing. Now, if it had not been for that, I'd have said this wasn't worth reporting on, because then it's just Hovind's word versus the tenant's, right? And who knows? But this makes it seem to me that
funnier.
That an effort, not only much funnier, but that an active effort was being made by Hovind to drum up a witness to get himself off the hook. Did you hear? Yeah. Did you read the bit about his Hovind's response to the police officer? He further stated that he was under the impression that he could enter his residence at any time he wanted because he owned it. And therefore he didn't think it was a crime. So actually, his statement conflicts with the statement of his son-in-law's son-in-law, the witness. Because the son-in-law says he just saw a conversation outside. Hovind admits that he went in. He just claims it's not a crime.
I didn't do it, and I thought I was allowed to do it.
That's right. That's right. Typical. All right. What else we got? Have we missed any major things? I got one more story here. You got another story?
Well, it was kind of the end of that.
Let me just throw in a plug for the latest Jack Chick comic, because I haven't gotten to it, and I don't think there's time.
Right.
But if you guys are fans of Jack Chick, go to chick.com.
We are.
There's a new one called The Monster, and it's very funny.
Well, sum it up for us, because the gag is the whole bit, right? It's about this guy who's a creep, right? A mean boss type character.
Right, a very mean boss and a lousy businessman, it looks like.
And he's not afraid of Jesus.
Right. And then all his employees pray for him, and the result of the prayer, and they state this directly, is that a whole bunch of awful stuff happens to him.
They're praying for him.
Right.
And the result is that God does bad things to him.
Very bad thing.
Good grief.
Actually, the week after they pray for him, he finds out his daughter is 3 months pregnant. So God works retroactively.
Well, he can do that being outside of time and all.
Yeah, sure.
All he had to do is, manifest to her and
all the time.
knock her up, and everything's peachy. Okay, well, boy, this is kind of a... we don't have that many minutes left, and I have a story about a new cathedral in Los Angeles where they have a gift shop, and they're charging an arm and a leg for parking in their special cathedral parking lot, and they also are selling access to crypts beneath the cathedral.
They're there for $3,000.
$3 million.
$3 million.
$3 million for a special little crypt of your own, and it's just a story about how commercial and money grubbing the whole thing is. But that, having said that, we've basically covered the whole thing. Well, this has been an extra fun show here at the Feast. We're going to have to do that more. Now, wait, I've talked to the atheist travel agent.
Are we going to end with feeding the seagulls Alka-Seltzer?
Yeah, do we have to stop now if we're gonna leave them
we can go a few more minutes. I just realized they'll go a few minutes after we end. So we can end, in 3 more minutes.
All right, that's fine.
So, our atheist travel agent over here.
Yeah, our atheist travel agent.
I've just been out on the surf, and there was a shark alert, and they made us all get out of the water.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
I thought
I hate when that
see
happens.
what you guys are up to, since I can't take advantage of the waves anymore.
God works in mysterious ways, and today it's sharks.
Yeah.
So where are we going next week?
I don't know, but we have some options. We could. Now I don't know that we'll go next week. We have limited funds.
Into time traveling?
We might. Well, there's a time travel possibility back to the age of the dinosaurs. There's a deep sea, down in a submersible beneath the ocean, listening to the whales possibility coming up. We don't know, so we'll keep those options open. Or we might do another naked episode like we've done before. That would be fun.
We could go to a nude beach
But if we do a naked episode, I am not
idea.
letting you have the big beach ball. Forget it. No way.
No bouncing up and down.
So, all right. Well,
Well, I just went further on. I mean, if we've got a couple extra minutes,
let's not try to cram things in.
Well, it was the end of that article that I was already reading.
Oh, yeah.
If
there's more.
The risk thing was that it was just saying one of the tenets of Satanism is revenge. And if someone hurts you, you should hurt them back. And they don't want to advocate that among prisoners, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but, thinking that you should have revenge is not a crime. Unless we're going into thought crimes. Thinking you want to do revenge is not a crime.
Maybe practicing rituals is, I don't know. Maybe they're worried they're going to cast
Maybe they're worried there'll be
spells
conspiracies to commit revenge.
I don't know.
Because that would be something. Planning to do a crime.
How is that different from any other bunch of people in prison who might be a gang or something?
I don't know, and I don't think I can guess. Thanks very much for listening to the show, folks. We will leave you with the beautiful sounds of the waves crashing against the shore, and we will be back again somewhere, perhaps back in Austin, Texas, next week.
Hi, everybody. Who's up for volleyball?
I am.
Yeah, all right, let's go.
All right, bye-bye.